G'day everyone out there in the YouTubes, Paul here. I've had a few requests through email and Messenger and DM asking me about the update on the F1 project, which I went ripping into for a while and then had to back off. Now the situation is I haven't lost any interest in this project whatsoever. I'm highly interested in it, and it is going to happen. I've done a lot of work already, so I'm not going to throw all this work away. The fact of the matter is, though, is I run a business here, and I've got pressing jobs and commitments that I have to do first before I can get back onto it. And I'm really keen to get those obligations out of the way, so in my free time I can give back to this project, which is what I'm very interested in. Now, one of the projects that I've been working on in that time is this yellow Kit Fox over here. I need to get this aircraft finished. It's very close, as you can see. I've built the engine, I'm just doing the wiring and the panel now. All the parts are made. It's like a big model aeroplane. It's all going to go together very soon and should be finished. Now, once that's done, I can get back onto this project. So where I am with the project so far is I've pretty much finished all the back end of the engine of the car, which entails the suspension. Now I've still got to put carbon fibre fairings over here to make it look like nice fat aerofoil wishbones and style it up a bit. Put all the bracing in. There's no bracing through the rear subframe. But basically the bulk of it is done. It's all laid out nicely. I got it to that point, then I moved on to the bodywork. Now what you're looking at here is a finished pattern, and I'll take my fiberglass, excuse me, my fiberglass moulds off that. So the side pods are detachable. I'll take separate moulds off those, and I'll segment up the pattern here with where all the the engine cover would be and the front nose cone. It'll all be fenced off and fiberglass moulded as required. Then I'll build my nose cone and the rear wings and start putting it all together. So what you're looking at here is a finished pattern. Well, it's not quite finished because now that I've had time to look at it, I want to change a few things. I've put a heavier radius on here. Take this sharp edge off, make it more radiused. I've got a pretty good idea of what the car needs to look like, so I'll make some changes. The front's pretty right, but yeah, it's pretty close. So anyway, that's the situation. Is I haven't lost interest in the project. In fact, I think about it. I walk past this car every day, and I think about getting back onto it as soon as possible. But as I said, I've got to finish some projects first, and then we're back into it. So anyway, while I'm here, I'll show you where I got up to. So what you've got here is a nicely filled and sanded. It took a lot of work to sand that pattern. As I said, I'll be taking my fiberglass moulds off that as required, so it'll all be segmented up. But that's the bulk of the pattern. And then I'll cut away the fiberglass once the parts are made to clear the wishbones and bits and pieces. So all that sort of stuff's no problem. So that's the bodywork. A lot of work went into that. There's a lot of interpretation of I'm basically just working off photographs and a scale model of the car, which is an FW11B Williams Formula One car. Another interesting fact is the front of the car is 90% scale. The rear of the car is reduced. I've taken about 300 millimetres out of this section here. So the rear, from the headrest backwards, it's been shortened by about 300 millimetres. Just to, because I just don't need the car to be that big. Also, the tyres and wheels that I've got that I'm running are Formula 3000. They're under here. I've got a couple of sets actually. So they're 10-inch on the rear and 8-inch on the front. So the reducing of the scale of the car at the rear will sort of make it look a little bit more, in keeping with the overall dimensions and scale. So reducing that center set, that section here, by taking 30 millimetre out of this, 300 millimetres out of this parallel section, it's going to work out quite well, and I think those tyres will look fantastic. So 8-inch tyres on the front, 10-inch slicks on the rear, Formula 3000 tyres. So this car will be about the same size as a Formula 3000, so it's about, I think from memory, about a 200-inch wheelbase. But styled up like a Williams. So the whole front of the car is the full width of a Williams, of course. You've got to get the human body in there. And the shocks are either side internal. So the front dampers are vertical with push rods and bell cranks, and they run either side of the driver's legs as per the original Williams would. The rear of the car I've changed. I've got those shocks in line with the body where they'd normally be vertical again, pointing downwards, but I just made that as I felt. suited the setup best. I mean, clearly the rear of the car is nothing like the original because it's got a different engine, it's transverse engine, blah, blah, blah. But the front will be pretty much scale. But as I said, the rear has been shortened, and there's, as I said, there's about 300 millimetres taken out of here as well. But it all looks about right, and it'll all look good once the wings are on and everything, and I put the radiator ducts in. So, yeah, I can already see myself getting excited again. But yeah, no, it will happen. I've got the turbocharger all built. It's looking really good. I'm happy with how that's come up. Got the wastegate in and the exhaust. This has just been mocked up, but I'll weld that, and that'll run under the rear diffuser, which will be just like the original one. And then that's the stinger off the wastegate. That's the main exhaust. See, I've got a big turbo there. I made my turbo manifold myself, which has come up really nice. I made a fixture for that, welded a CNC machined, a 12mm plate for the manifold, and used that to keep everything in line when I welded it all up. And on the rear of the car, I've got the shocks in place and the rocker arms I CNC machined. It's all done, all looking good. Most of this has been designed on CAD, but some of it's just been modified as I go. The rear uprights are all fabricated out of 5mm plate. Very happy with how they've come up. And it's all looking quite good. This is a shut and cut shaft, tail shaft, drive shaft out of a Honda Civic. And likewise the OBX differential, limited slip differential, LSD, that's been all redesigned to take my external pulleys here. That was a bit of work in designing all that. And of course the bearing blocks, the clamp bearing blocks there, which are clamped to the front here. And there'll be this will all be encased in an aluminium housing to keep all the the oil and grease in for that. And as you come around here, you can see the rear upright. I'm actually using the motorcycle brakes, and I took the rear disc and modified it to suit the front caliper. Made my own top hats. That's going to be good. That's designed to suit the Centerlock 13-inch slicks and wheels. So I've got my idler here with a jack screw. Again, I'm going to put some bracing on that because that'll probably have a tendency to tilt over. So this has just been put in place, but it is tack welded in. It's got a jack screw there for adjusting the idle sprocket, which adjusts the tension on the slack side of the chain. You can see it all there. There's the turbo. That should work really well. Nice, good sized turbo. And once that spools up, she'll make plenty of boost. When I get a bit closer to getting serious, I'll probably pull all this engine apart, either put a spacer in there or put Wozner turbo pistons in. Or I'll just run the stock pistons and run a 2mm spacer here. I intend to run this engine on E85, so it'll be very good for boosting. It'll have a high octane rating and good natural cooling through that fuel. And I'll run more fuel for cooling. That's the beauty with E85 is it has a high octane, and you need to use more of it to get decent power, which means that consumption of all that fuel is good for cooling. Anyway, I'm rambling on now. That's the update, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one, whenever that is, hopefully soon. Bye.